Hi, welcome to Hibas Kitchen.
Continuing our Christmas series today, we're going to show you a recipe which you'll be able to use on Christmas Day or Boxing Day.
So we're going to be showing you how to make Seitan.
As you can see, we've still got our mulled wine and we're still getting in the festive spirit. So that's hence the video for today. So as we said, the Seitan can be used on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. It works really well as a sort of main meal, as your main sort of meat substitute, or you can use it for cold cuts.
We also use it just in general as well, so we use it as a sandwich filler, and again it can be ideal for if you mix it with a bit of mayo in a sandwich as well.
Pizza as well, works well with pizza.
Yeah, pizza, yeah.
Stir fry, it really does work anywhere you'd use meat. The other good thing is because of the sort of wheat gluten in it and the chickpeas, it makes it a nice sort of shreddable texture. So that's why it works really well in this sort of sandwich filler and stuff like that. What I would say is it's a basic sort of bland meat. So it's a sort of blank canvas. You use it as a starting point, and then from when it's ready, you would then season it or marinate it, and generally just use it the same way that you'd use meat.
Yeah. So, should we get started?
Yeah, let's take a look at the ingredients.
Okay.
So the chickpeas that you can see there, that's 1.5 400 gram tins. If you're using the tins, then you should get enough aquafaba from the tins. If you can't get any aquafaba, so if you're using cooked chickpeas for example, then you can use vegetable stock instead of that. Use the same amount, that's 1 cup. Then for the miso, ideally use the white miso paste, so it's sort of paler, and that gives you a more pale finish on the Seitan at the end. If you use the darker miso, then it does make your Seitan a little bit darker, so that's up to you. For the onion and garlic granules, you're welcome to substitute those for puree if you wish, just half the amount, so a teaspoon of each. Now
the wheat gluten flour can be a little bit tricky to get hold of, only in shops and such, so we recommend ordering it off places such as Amazon online.
So just moving on now to some of the things we're going to need for this recipe. You can see we've got quite a lot of gear here, so we'll just go through it quickly. So firstly, this is a high-speed blender. It needs something that's going to blend all of the ingredients into a nice smooth liquid. So you could use a smoothie maker if you don't have a high-speed blender. You just need to do it in sort of smaller batches before combining it at the end.
The other thing that you're going to need is your food processor. If you've got a dough attachment, feel free to use it. We just use the normal standard issue attachment with the blades and it works just fine for us.
Yeah, we're also going to need a bowl, so that's just a mixing bowl which we'll just leave the dough to rest in slightly, and then you can see also some foil and a steamer. You can use anything that you would normally use for steaming, so something like a rice cooker might do it as well. Some rice cookers have different settings for steaming. It just needs to be be able to steam for about 2 hours.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready to make a start. Let's just clear a space.
Yeah.
So the first thing we need to do is to separate the chickpeas and the aquafaba. So if you want to do that with the colander.
Yeah. Just grab a jug as well.
So I've already got half a tin here, just from a previous recipe. We're just going to add everything except for the vital wheat gluten into the into the blender. So it's 2 tablespoons of the miso paste. So you've got those chickpeas?
Yeah.
I'll just drop this straight in. So we need the 1 cup of aquafaba.
Okay. Okay, we're just a little short, so
this is where I keep a bottle of aquafaba in the fridge from, I think I've said it in previous recipes, where when we're sort of only using the chickpeas from the tin, we put the water from the tin in a bottle, so this is where it comes into use. I can just go straight in there. it's 2 tablespoons of oil. We've got sunflower oil, but you can use vegetable oil if you like. But avoid using olive oil because it's quite a strong flavour. Then we're 2 teaspoons of each of the garlic powder, or garlic granules, and the onion powder. And as I said before, you could, if you can't sort of get hold of the granules, then you can use puree, or you could make your own puree. You just want about a teaspoon each of those because they tend to be a little bit stronger. And just a teaspoon of salt, which I know is about 10 turns of that grinder. And then just to finish with, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. Don't be alarmed, I've just got quite a sort of whiff of apple cider vinegar from that. I wouldn't be alarmed by that, it's in there, it sort of neutralises all the rest of the flavours. It's works really well with this sort of thing. So from there, as I said, we've got a high-speed blender. We're just going to put that in, blend that into a very sort of smooth liquid. Could take us 2 or 3 minutes, depending on your blender. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape the sides down because you can see some of it's come up the sides. While I'm doing this, while this is blending actually, it's a good idea to actually measure out the gluten flour. So you need the bowl again. So it's 1 3/4 cups, or if you're weighing it out, it's 260 grams roughly. So there we are, that's blended into a nice smooth liquid, as you can see.
Okay.
And we now need to just combine that with the wheat gluten flour.
Yeah, should we just take this out?
Just some of that will be stuck. So.
I'll just scrape this one off first.
So you can see it's not sort of fluid-like, but it's smooth, almost like a milkshake sort of texture and consistency. So that just needs to combine with the flour. So at this stage it is still very much like a bread dough almost, in that we're combining the liquid with the flour, and then we're going to let it sit for 15 minutes. So it's a good idea just to get a wooden spoon. Don't really want to get your hands into this dough because it will be very sticky. So get a wooden spoon in there and just combine it. And it should start to come together quite quickly. It will be a very stiff dough, which is why we need a mixer or food processor to knead it. It's virtually impossible to do it by hand.
It smells amazing already. Okay. I might pass over to you in a second. There we go.
Once it is all mostly together, you can get your hands in there and just move it around the bowl, just collecting all the excess flour. Now if it does turn out a little bit dry, I mean I'm quite happy with this. If it does turn out a little bit dry at this point, then you could always add some more aquafaba. That's the best thing to add, or maybe even just a splash of water. Okay, so you can see it's started to come together, it's started to get a little bit stringy already, but all we're doing is just combining it, and we're going to let it sit like that for about 15 minutes before sort of kneading it in the food processor. So that's been about 15 minutes now. It's just 15 minutes just so the gluten flour can absorb the liquid, basically. So now what we need to do is knead the dough. because this is quite a small food processor, it's a good idea to split the dough in half, just so that it sort of gets around the container. You can see there, it's quite nice and stringy and shreddable. Quite a nice texture. But yeah, just split it in half, then you can position it around the container like that. And all we're going to do.
Oh.
So,
that runs there.
oh yeah. So on this one we've got a dough function. So although it's metal, it will just rotate nice and slowly. It will just gradually stretch the dough.
So we're going to keep on kneading this until it becomes a smooth, stretchy dough. You can already start to see parts of it having quite like a meaty, almost stringy texture.
Yeah, so that's a sign of it starting to come together. It can take sort of more than 5 minutes. Depends on sort of how efficient your food processor is. Obviously, towards the end, you can start to sort of handle it a little bit and just get a feel of what it's doing. So you can see now that's definitely come together. So you can see that's moving around the food processor now as sort of almost as one entity. But the important thing is the texture that you can see there. It's yeah, it's sort of stringy and shreddy. So that's quite that's what we're looking for. Just going to give that a couple more minutes. So yeah, as you can see from the close-up, it's that's come together really well. Let's take it out of the food processor now. Yeah, it's difficult.
Watch your hands.
End up taking the attachment out with. Oh, there's a rope piece. But generally, apart from the odd bit that's broken off, that is one sort of nice stretchy piece of Seitan. So I'm just gonna fold it over a few times myself, and this is really just to shape it for the steamer. So obviously at this point you need to take notice of how big your steamer is and whether this will fit inside it. And you can see that's probably just about going to fit in there. If you drop the lid over the top, you should see. So what we need to do now foil, do you want to grab the foil?
Yeah.
Is just roll some foil out. You're basically just going to wrap it in foil, and you want it sort of not tight, but you don't really want any space in there. You want it just to hold its shape at this point. So you can tear that.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of rolling it up, and then what I'd like to do is just roll the ends down like this. And find it sort of clamps down on it then. So that's probably the best way of describing it.
Almost like you're rolling a paper bag, basically.
Yeah. Just roll it down, and then you're sort of reducing all of the sort of excess space inside the foil. So I'm just going to let that sit while we bring the. I thought I'd split that then. You could actually, if you've got quite thin foil, obviously you could wrap it twice. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be steaming for 2 hours, so it's definitely going to cook. So yeah, I'm just going to let that sit while we bring this up to heat. So we've got the water.
Yeah.
Let's just get the frame on.
Do you want to push that back a little bit as well?
So let's get the water straight in there. So obviously this needs to be boiling. We're just obviously using a manual steamer, not an electric one. And obviously we will have to top this up probably at least once, maybe even twice, because the water will all boil away during the 2 hours. If you are tight for time, I've done it for an hour and a half before and that's been okay, but the full 2 hours, it really sort of firms up a little bit more. So you can see that's steaming quite nicely. So we're just going to drop that in there, cover it, leave it for 2 hours. So should we have some mulled wine while we wait?
Yeah. Okay, so that's been about 2 hours. Now I've taken the lid off just to let it cool down for about 10 minutes or so. So we're now going to see the finished product.
It's quite useful to keep the tin foil because that makes a good storage solution for the fridge. If that's where we keep it.
Okay, if I can flatten it out. Okay.
Yeah, so there's our chickpea Seitan. So you can see it's quite nice and firm. It does have a sort of faint texture in it as well. And when it's cooled down a bit, we'll be able to pull it apart and so into nice little sort of strips or chunks. You can slice it as well. So you pretty much do anything with it. So it's a really versatile thing to be able to make. So let's take a look inside as well while we're here. So do you want to get a knife and just sort of take a slice of it?
Just from about there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's still quite hot. Okay.
Here we go. So you can see the sort of texture of that. Obviously, if you cut a sort of neat slice through it, then that's what it looks like. But also, once you've got this sort of slice, you can then just tear it apart like so, and it's, as I say, nice and sort of almost stringy.
Yeah.
So that's really,
almost like this. So that looks quite good with the texture.
Yeah, and we can even have a little bit of a taste while it's
Yeah.
still warm.
Try it.
And that is perfect. It's not too rubbery, and it's it's just really got that nice sort of satisfying texture that we used to get from meat.
Yeah. We quite often use this in recipes such as our carbonara instead of tofu, just because it's a really good replacement.
Yeah, so that makes a good the sort of bacon marinade in that, which we use on the tofu. That makes a good marinade for this. So do check out that video if you're looking for sort of marinade ideas. Otherwise, there's plenty of other things you can try. You can use like a seasonal seasoning which you can buy in in the supermarkets in a jar. A little bit of oil and some seasoning that works really well on it.
Yeah, even something such as like smoked paprika or even Cajun would be quite nice on it. Actually, I haven't tried that before, but
no, we haven't. No.
I might try that next time.
Like barbecue. The other sort of good thing I imagine it'd be really good for is a turkey sandwich alternative. So if you're at Christmas Day and people are having leftover turkey, then you could have some of this, some cranberry sauce in there. I think that would work perfectly.
Yeah, it'd be ideal.
So it's good. So I think that brings us to the end of the video.
Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to check out our other Christmas recipe videos as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Also turn on the notifications so that you see when we post new videos.
And obviously leave any feedback in the comment section down below.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.